Welcome to Insight on Business. My name is Michael Libbie. Thanks so very much for coming by. This is all brought to you by FWRSA. FWRSA of Clive, a tax accounting services that will work hard on your taxes until the cows come home. That's FWRSA, family-owned, great company, and in Clive. By the way, they on Tuesday evenings, right up until tax day, which is next Monday, they have walk-ins available. No appointment necessary. FWRSA of Clive, F-U-I-R-S-A, F-U-I-R-S-A for FWRSA. All right, is your advertising and marketing snackable? What do we mean by that? Well, recently, some friends of mine from Skyward put up a graphic, and they were talking about whether or not your digital remarks were snackable. In other words, people have such a limited attention span that digitally, when you're in social media, you have to capture the attention of people within a very short period of time. And so they call that snackable. Well, I got to thinking about that. It's great advice for advertising digitally, but it's even better advice for those of you who are advertising anything at all, anywhere at all. It doesn't matter if it's print, electronic, or billboards, whatever it happens to be. Is your advertising message snackable? All right, so here's the graphic that our friends put up, and I think this is really interesting, okay? Consumers' demand for attention is so crowded. The way we share information about brands and the way we access those messages, even those tools are getting smaller. Visually, we went from theaters to television to desktop video. Now we're watching video on smartphones. And because we're seeing more and more content with the same amount of limited time, our marketing needs need to become what? Snackable. All right? So here's this graphic. 65% of people are primarily visual learners. So what does that mean when you're talking about advertising and marketing in print or television or in radio? Well, in radio, obviously, you have to be able to draw a picture in the mind of the listener. All right? Telephone numbers and websites and all those other things are nice, but you have to draw a picture in the mind. It's called, the old radio language it's called a theater of the mind. And because 65% of people are visual learners, you've got to capture that in radio and in television. Television's a great medium to advertise in, but you also have to be able to tell that story graphically and well. And I think one of the things that most people miss when they're talking about snackable advertising is advertising when you are in the business of print ads. Most print ads are absolutely horrendous. I have seen print ads where the same layout has been used year after year after year, the same colors, the same, and it doesn't change. The brain turns off after so many visual interpretations of the same thing. That's why we implore our clients to go ahead and make sure that they change up their visual advertising in print all the time. Match the season, match the topic if it's in a magazine, match whatever is going on in the consumer's mind at that time when you're utilizing print. All right, and then digital. Because 65% of people are primarily visual learners, guess what? Why do you think on your Facebook page or your Twitter stream or your blog that the images get most of the reaction? That's because we are visual learners. All right? You've only got 8 seconds, kids. That's the average attention span of an adult online. I would share with you that it probably only maybe doubles for other types of advertising. 8 seconds is not a very long time. And so when you're posting a video, for example, that runs 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, you better capture somebody's attention in the first 8 seconds. If you are in the world of print or radio or television, you better capture that person's interest in the first 8 seconds and then keep it. That's the trick with other types of advertising, whether it's print or electronic. You need to not only capture that attention, but then keep that person focused on the message. Don't allow he or she to wander. If it's a radio message, don't start talking about inane things that have absolutely nothing to do with the product or the service that you're talking about. Be able to paint that picture succinctly, capture their interest right away, and then move on to the meat of the product. All right. The other graphic says 3,000 is the number of brand impressions people face each day. Can you imagine that? This is one of the reasons I think most small to medium-sized business people think that they know everything there is to know about advertising and marketing. Well, the fact of the matter is they don't. But they've seen perhaps 3,000 brand impressions each and every day, and so they're going, hey, I saw commercials, I saw print ads, I saw digital ads, I know what's going on, I've got a Facebook page, I've got 165 followers, whatever it happens to be. Most business people think they know advertising and marketing because they've seen so many images. On the other side of the coin is because you are bombarded with so many brand impressions each and every day, you need to make sure that your brand impression is memorable. Memorable brand impressions are going to be critical. If you're bombarded with 3,000 brand impressions each and every day, you want to be in at least the top, 300? And to do that, it takes creativity. So let's review here just a second. 65% of people are primarily visual learners. So you've got to use visual, paint the picture in radio or in television or in print. Be very clear, be very, we think, image oriented. 8 seconds is all the time that you have to be able to capture somebody's attention. And with 3,000 brand impressions that people face each and every day, wow. You'd like to be in the top 10%, at least 300 brand impressions that somebody out there remembers. When it's done right, kids, when it's done right, snackable advertising works. It works in print, it works in radio, it works in television, and it works digitally. Okay? The idea, remember, is to capture that attention quickly, be relevant, and move on to the next thing. Snackable advertising. Not only does it work digitally, but I think it works all across the board. If you want to comment on anything that you see or hear today, you can do so on Twitter. It's at InsightADV, at InsightADV. That is the Twitter handle for our advertising agency, Insight Advertising, Marketing, and Communications. You know, the other day I was asked, okay, hey, Michael, why do you spend so much time doing this show, talking about issues that come up relative to advertising and marketing? Why do you do this? Well, the reason that we do this, kids, is so that your business, no matter what size it happens to be, might gain a nugget of knowledge from something that we're talking about. I mean, if we're going to help you in any stretch of advertising or marketing, we take our decades experience of utilizing advertising across the board and share these mini tidbits with you. Hopefully, they'll help you in your advertising and marketing no matter what economy that we're in and no matter what kind of business that you happen to be in. Many of these things, by the way, work business to business as well. Let's talk about networking real quick, all right? The other day I posted something about networking, and this was all driven by the reality that last week I attended numerous networking events. There was a formal networking event with the Chamber. There was a networking event with the Social Media Club of Des Moines. There was another political networking event. All these networking events that we go to. And I got to thinking about it. I see some of the same people at many of these networking events, but they're all really different, all right? So I don't know if do we have that image of networking, Ryan? See, we got all these people that we've got to talk to, you know, and everybody is not necessarily in the same silo, if you will. And each networking event is somewhat different. And so we're going to talk about this. This is the buzz for everybody. We've got chamber networking events, business networking events, social media networking events, all designed to put us in touch with other people. And given the fact that so much of our work today is digital, what happens with these networking events is that actually we get to put eyeballs on those people because we're social animals, kids, come on. And we like to actually meet the person that we've been communicating with online for a long while, many times we do anyway. But the big question is, how are these networking events different, and what can you expect to gain from networking? So let's talk about some of these, okay? They're not all the same. And last week I attended several. So let's break down each one of them. Ryan, if we can come back, thank you. All right. Let's talk about chambers of commerce, okay? I belong to several chamber of commerce organizations in the Des Moines Metro. And each one of those, by the way, are vastly different. One chamber of commerce may be very progressive. Another chamber of commerce may be relatively small and non-progressive. And they all have their different flavor, if you will. But chambers of commerce have got to be the grandfather of all networking events. But what goes on at chamber networking events is vastly different than some other networking events. Let me give you an example. Networking events at chambers of commerce tend to be very structured. All right, there is a time when everybody meets. There is a program that has a conversation value to it. There's a little time for interaction. There is interaction, interestingly enough, between people who already know each other, but breaking into some of those circles is relatively difficult, in my experience anyway. Chamber of Commerce networking events also tend to draw an older crowd. Now, if your target market tends to be older individuals and you're doing business-to-business marketing, that might be a really great solution. We happen to be in that space. We do lots of business-to-business marketing and advertising, also business-to-consumer advertising and marketing. And so talking with business owners or those who are involved in the management and production of advertising and marketing, very important for us to do. And that's why we belong to several chambers. But one of the things that we notice about Chamber of Commerce networking events is that they lack lots of creativity. You're not going to find a lot of creative conversation at these networking events because they're really business-oriented, friendship-oriented, and not necessarily exploring new ways to do things. Why? Well, I think that's a reason that chambers exist, or that's an offshoot of chambers, because they're primarily made up of individuals who tend to be a little bit more mature and mature in their business. Let's talk about the other types of networking events, the social media networking event. Last week I was at two of them. One was a relatively structured event, the Social Media Club of Des Moines, and another one was CIB. It's called Central Iowa Bloggers. It's a really loosely formed group that sits around and talks about stuff, creative stuff. What's the difference between those types of social media meetups or tweetups and the chamber? Well, they're much less formal for the most part. Individuals are coming together to talk about new ideas, creative ideas. What is this person, what's the launch of this particular product or service? What's going on technologically in this particular silo? And people engage each other in a very low-key, unstructured environment, and it's loads of fun. Next week, by the way, we're going to have a couple of representatives from the Social Media Club of Des Moines as our guests, and they're going to be talking about why businesses should be involved with the Social Media Club of Des Moines. We're looking forward to bringing that to you in much more depth. So these meetups, tweetups for social media tend to be much less structured and much more freewheeling in the area of creativity. Then there are these business networking events. You've heard of them, and they go by several initials out there, where a select number of people meet on a particular given day, and membership to these groups is relatively limited. In other words, people don't necessarily come from all walks of life. Not everybody is invited, and they like to have one individual from each and every, if they can, organization or some type of silo, business silo. You might have a realtor there, a banker there, you might have a roofer there, you might have a salesperson in the area, whatever it happens to be. And these networking events are very structured. Everybody said, I've never been, but I watched a flight the other night with Denzel Washington. Was it Denzel Washington Flight? Wow, was that a powerful movie? I mean, I was Ryan. I just looked at Ryan, our producer, and I just saw it the other night. It was a tragic movie but how interesting. I've never been. My point is, my ADD just kicked in. My point is, I've never been to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. But I gotta suspect that these business networking groups are much like that, because everybody sits around a table. They've got 60 seconds to tell their story, and they pass out business cards and have a drawing and a meal, and it's pretty social. Those are designed really to promote business among those particular members. And if that's your game, that's what you want to do, is be able to reach out to a very select group of people on a regular basis who then become friends. Have at it. We have attempted to do that once or twice just for kicks and giggles, and it wasn't in our bailiwick necessarily. And then there are talent-based networking events. Now, what do I mean by talent-based networking events? Well, these are sometimes fueled by associations. If you happen to be, as we're going to be talking about in just a little bit, a leasing agent, they will have leasing agents, insurance salespeople, attorneys, advertising people. They have these various associations and organizations that hold these networking events amongst themselves. Very great for sharing business-to-business knowledge, not so great for garnering new business at the same time. But they are valuable in the fact that we actually learn things from each other. So you've got all of these different networking events. What's my point in sharing all of this with you? You've got to sit back and take a look at the structure of each one of the networking events. Do they fit your business plan? You do have one, don't you? Do they fit your business plan? And are they something that you really want to spend time and or money joining? What are you going to get out of it? If you're wanting to do business to business, if you want free-flowing structure or non-structured meetings, each one of these have a different rationale and purpose. And so if you're in business, I would urge you to take a look at all of these networking events and get out there. One of the interesting things, I was talking to somebody last week, and they were telling me that they know a person that goes to 5 or 6 networking events each and every week. I know a guy that goes to 3 networking events a day. Ben, I'm looking at you. Ben is with Drake Holmes, and he's a friend of mine across many spectrums. And we met up last Friday morning, and he couldn't stay very long because he was off to yet another networking event, 3 or 4 of these each and every day. Nobody can call Ben a wallflower. Networking events, they all have their purpose and meaning, and finding the right one for your purpose is critical to success. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what is it? Oh, hold on. Oh, I know. It's sending customers to the competition. This is a true story, kids. I heard it last week about a company that actually sends their prospective customers away. Really. We'll talk about that. We'll also give you 3 tips for blogging. As Insight on Business continues, we are powered by Webcast One. We'll be back right after this.